Okay.
All right, I'm gonna call the planning commission meeting to order at the Richard Young Fire Station on Wednesday, June 26, 2024 at 6:32 p.m. Roll call, please.
President Osterman,
Here.
trustee Plotecker,
Here.
Commissioner Alhoffen,
Here.
Commissioner Everly,
Here.
Commissioner Howard,
Here.
Commissioner McCormick is absent, Commissioner McDonald,
Here.
Planner Sumwalt,
Here.
Attorney Macy,
Here.
Engineer Lysis,
Here.
Administrator Nicholas, here, and Clerk Capazzo to record the minutes.
Item 2, citizens' comments. Does anyone have any comments tonight? Anyone on Zoom?
Just an applicant's engineer on Zoom.
Item 3 is approval of the minutes of the May 22nd, 2024 public hearing and planning commission meetings. The minutes, any questions or comments? Is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve minutes as presented.
I'll second. Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. I did not vote on that. Item 4, new business. A, discussion and necessary action on the request by applicant Carl Goldberg Trust for approval of a 2-lot certified survey map to divide the property located at W239 and 9230 North Road, LSBP 0150.993 and A10 agricultural and C1 conservancy zone districts, and recommendations to the village board of the same. Warren?
Bear with me one moment while I share my screen. Yep. We have before you a application for a 2-lot certified survey map on the property located on North Road, which I have up on the GIS here. Lot 1 of the proposed CSM encompasses an existing farmstead with a single-family residence and several farm structures. And that has access from an existing driveway on North Road. Proposed Lot 2 is vacant farmland and wetland and will have access at the terminus of Stillwater Drive right-of-way to the north in the Bark River Preserve subdivision, which has an existing T-turnaround within the right-of-way there. The proposed properties conform to the A10 district area requirements. The existing single-family residence, an accessory structure, and a full building on Lot 1 conform with the A10 district setback and offset requirements. There are regulations regarding how many outbuildings you can have. There is an exception for buildings used for agricultural purposes. So the Lot 1 of the proposed CSM is over 10 acres. It is in compliance with the requirements from the zoning code. In addition, the accessory buildings are consistent with the maximum floor area ratio requirements, so 10% of the site for the A10 district. And the survey identifies an area of wetlands for Waukesha County GIS. The county GIS layer uses the 2015 Wisconsin wetland inventory data. Wetland looks like it's about 11+ acres. And it's at the center of the property and along a lot of the frontage of North Road. The subject wetland is on C1. It's part of a sewer pack identified primary environmental corridor. We think the data that's provided is sufficient for the time being, as there's no development being proposed at this time for either of these lots. However, we're recommending that a wetland delineation be required prior to issuance of a building permit for Lot 1 and Lot 2 of the certified survey map. So if a home gets proposed in the future for the northern lot, we would want there to be a detailed delineation done for that lot at that time with updated information. But it could go as is for now. So that's a recommended condition. It's condition number 2. Otherwise, condition 1 and 3 are both pretty standard conditions that the planning commission has seen previously. There is a technical review from the village engineer included in your packets, along with a markup of the CSM with some of their comments. I'll refer to the village engineer to answer any questions regarding those. I will note some of those. There is a requirement to add an access restriction along Sagamore Hill Drive to the face of the CSM. Sagamore Hill Drive, which I'm kind of pointing to now on the GIS is a dead end stub at the rear of this parcel. And there is no cul-de-sac bulb or T turnaround, there's no formal terminus to that. And so the access restriction is to ensure that that doesn't become an unofficial driveway for the parcel. Should there be something proposed in the future, we've got a note that, or we're requesting a note be added that no further division be permitted unless a cul-de-sac is installed. So there's a similar condition for lot 2, that no further division be permitted unless a cul-de-sac is installed at the Stillwater Drive terminus. Again, that one does have an existing T turnaround. And then there's a request for a note indicating that only one driveway be allowed to be installed off the end of Stillwater. So as is, one could be installed off of that terminus now for a new single family home. The only thing required would be, again, that an updated wetland delineation provided for the property at that time. Petitioner is here, if there's any specific questions for him as well. To go over.
I'm a little bit confused, but it's nothing unusual. Up on the north end of the north parcel, there appears to be on the county GIS system, a dedicated dead-end street off of Brookway. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, then that was never improved as was the other one you referred to, which was never improved.
The one to the north, Stillwater, is improved and has a paved terminus, a T turnaround. There's no longer a hedgerow blocking that, and it is it's an older aerial photograph, so it's
Oh, okay.
that subdivision.
That's where I was confused
Yeah.
during your narrative, because I look like a bunch of weeds and woods and stuff like that. As long as we have the same restriction on both of those, as far as if development occurs on that north lot, that they have to put either they improve that right away to go with the subsequent division of that lot, or they leave it when they put a cul-de-sac or something. I mean, right now, you're saying there's a T turnaround there, it's fine. It doesn't show up on the aerial, that's fine.
Yeah, the village engineer went out and checked and to make sure that that existed, and the aerial that's on the county's GIS is a 2022, so that's been improved since that time.
Okay, I just want to make sure they redivide that, rezone, redivide that north lot, that they go back to the existing and develop that whole thing as a public street. Okay, so I was thinking we can put some kind of note on there for the future. It's the only comments I answer. Ryan? Sherry? John?
Anything else from the applicant?
I have a comment. I think, listening to you read it, you have to say they have the note indicating only one driveway for one residence.
Oh, correct.
Right. So it needs,
Everybody understand that?
Thank you.
Yes, the driveway, one does.
Thank you for correcting that for the record. Yes, one driveway for one residence is the intent of the staff.
Mr. Everly, staff would prefer, but we've received word from the board that they're not of a mind to have the people build cul-de-sacs at this point. Some communities do require, if you made the prior developer build it to the lot line, if someone wants to use it, they're supposed to improve it, but this community does not take that position.
Say that again.
Pardon?
Counselor, can you say that again?
Yeah, some communities say you can have your large parcel, your 30-acre parcel without developing either of these roads. You know, they were built to your lot line for your benefit.
Right.
Some communities say that if you're going to divide it in any shape, even two lots, you have to improve those roads. And this community does not take that position, which is fine, it's a policy decision. So I think we'd be remiss not to say, so if we come back later and say, we're not recommending, you know, these cul-de-sacs be built or a T-turn around put here. You know, the staff recommendation was to limit it to one on the north and not at all used on the west, east.
Okay, thank you.
That would allow in the future, John, if I understand what you just said, and what we're saying, if there's a further division of that north lot, then at that time, they can be required to go all the way back to wherever that street is. So,
Yeah, and of course, by dividing it, it'll be near impossible, if not totally impossible, to ever connect those. But, you know, I would think that the goal was to stub them there and then someday they might be connected, but, you know, it's never gonna happen now that you're dividing. That's fine. But they can bring in two cul-de-sacs and get some additional lots, if in the future they're of a mind to do so.
What? Anything else? Or is there more on the side? I'm sorry?
Yeah.
I said, is there?
Oh, it says seven.
for the CSM and submitted with planners' comments. Presented. And one drive for one residence. And engineer's comments.
Now he's there.
Any questions, any other comments? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? So. Item B, discussion necessary action on the request by Anthony Lukovich, KJC LLC, on behalf of owner Terry Getz, kind of property LLC, for approval of the development agreement related to the proposed Octoberfield subdivision on the vacant parcel located along Maryville and Walnut Road, and identify the Dale PT 0255.998, and recommendation to the village board the same.
I will defer to the attorney on this.
The developer submitted a developer's agreement. The staff has gone through that agreement. I believe actually the village administrator probably has more of the details because she's worked with the developer to resolve any issues. And I'll ask the administrator if she has any additional specific comments regarding the document. I can first just engage if there are specific comments.
I don't have any specific. We did make all the changes that we thought were pertinent. The petitioner is aware.
So for the board's benefit, we've gone to the board, the village board on one occasion for the commission's benefit. Because many communities are struggling based on the new developers bill of rights as to when to allow the final plat to be filed. The village board directed us to move ahead with this developer's agreement under the current policy. And the current policy is to allow the development agreement and the final plat to be filed. The final plat to be filed if the developer's agreement and securities are in place. That's been the past practice of the community. Many communities are changing that practice, and the board is still taking it under consideration as to how they'll go. So we may see something different in the future. One of my clients has decided all improvements have to be done before the final plat and lots are sold. And another community, one that abuts you, has decided to allow both lists to go on and then the final plat. So there's a lot of chatter out there in the industry on this issue. But at this point, there's been no change of the policy here in the village. So the developer is proceeding under the current policy to work toward filing with the final plat. You cannot still get development, under the developer's agreement, you still can't get building permits until the first list is on, it's accepted. But you can get your final plat filed and you can sell lots. Is that a correct statement? Did it
Yes,
summarize
thank
it
you.
correctly? I just don't want to be surprised if we come back with a different policy for the next developer's agreement. and somebody reads through it and says, well, that's not the way we handle. October Fields is being handled the way prior developments have been. And we'll just take one step at a time.
Questions or comments on the development agreements, any Sean?
Haven't been any significant changes, that last meeting was out and that was back
No,
so basically, so what I'm trying to say, the original, the plan that was submitted originally, doing traffic, at the done traffic study, the approval rating and doing that, everything's all fine.
all the requirements that were passed at the last meeting have been.
No, we haven't received.
The-
it.
This is just the developers agreement that we're discussing.
Yeah, and so I don't want to confuse it, and I may have, but I apologize. The preliminary plat, I believe, was conditionally approved.
That's
One of
correct.
the conditions is always that before you start improvements, you have to have a developer's agreement and security on file. So they're at the preliminary plat, satisfying the conditions of the preliminary plat, so they can start moving dirt. I may have misled you to think they could start selling lots. They can't start selling lots until they.
Get the roads in.
Plat back, and I just wanted to, I understand your question was different, but it's further in my mind, maybe I gave the wrong impression that they're at that stage yet. They're at the typical preliminary plat approval, series of conditions, satisfy those conditions, work on finalizing those conditions, and then coming back with the final.
Right, and that's good to know that we just, there's a big development. And for all the people who are listening, it's good to have a communication that is all. So,
Yep.
say, well, hey, this. That's, perfect.
Thank you.
Anything else? No. Bob? Jerry?
Ken, and so a question under landscaping, did the rules or comments that it's the developer's responsibility to plant tree initial trees, did that get changed to be the developer's responsibility?
It was, yes, we kept it as that's what our code has, so we kept it as the developer's responsibility. That's correct.
Wait, Kathy,
Hold on,
I'm not sure that.
what page are we on?
P6, page 5.
Thank you.
I think of yes.
Oh, we did, yeah, we did. We meant to put that on as a,
There is a comment on the side that says, as written, it doesn't meet code section 12. It's a requirement of the developer, should go back to original language.
so the developer. would do. Yeah. And we'll have it on.
So we are. Like the original language where. The developer is required to put the tree improvements on the lots.
Yes,
We understand that? He's not true.
Yeah, that was my question, was that go back on responsibility, go back on to the developer.
At Public Works meeting last week, we had discussion regarding stop signs at Walnut and Berry Hill. And I can't, for the life of me, remember what we ended up saying.
I don't think that would not be a part of this developer's agreement.
Well, I'm just making sure that because under the part, the developer's agreement with regard to signage and that, it says according to the existing code. I just want to make sure that we have.
Joe, that item was tabled at Public Works.
And it was, and that's outside of the development. Mary Hill and Walnut is outside of the development. Development would be all the roads inside the development.
Brian?
Sorry.
Thank you. Anyone else against that?
Yes, any motion to approve should be subject to the administrator signing off on the final warrant. So that these comments can be incorporated.
Motion and second.
I'll make a motion to accept, to approve the request by Bill Bukovich on behalf of Terry Gettis, Simon Property, for development agreement related to disposal of October Fields on a big parcel located on National Walnut Road. So the administrator signing off on conditions presented. Corrected.
And recommendation to village board of the same?
And reference to the board of same.
Second.
Second, please, Sherry. All right, does that mean? Any final discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried 7-0. Thank you. Item C, discussion only regarding annual reports resulting from report inspection. With number 1, land and stone products. Brian?
All right, so I will make this, quick as I can. So east of F on Highway K, Sussex Quarry, that's pretty, key points are is, they're very neat and orderly, and they have improved wheel water. That's exciting. Then the one along North Lisbon Road. Big thing about it, just the last 1 or 2 times a week, there's no changes in their line of operation. They're gonna try and increase sand washing capacity, which will not create any additional noise or disturb the neighbors. That's pretty much it for that one. Then for the one on south on Highway K, they blast about 1 or 2 times a week. They always call it in. This is the one that borders H&H. What is it? H&H Auto Salvage. It appears that H&H has quite a bit of items on the quarry property. They have sparsely placed blocks with no bollards. And the berm is about 5 feet high and separating the properties. And a small section between the properties. I believe it's on the south end. Land and Stone has expressed a safety concern to H&H due to the other side of this 5-foot high berm. There's a 200-foot cliff. So they expressed concern, but the guy who's taking me around, and I'll be darned if I can remember his name. He said, they're really not gonna do anything about it. They expressed their concern. They didn't tell me if it was in writing or not. And to be very honest with you, it's almost as if they just don't want to upset the neighbors. But we did ask the H&H to define the property line with full water, but they didn't. There's a pretty good sized pile of tires there. There's some remnants of some vehicles. And you can definitely see the paths where they turn onto the property. And so that's where I'm at with that. I believe it's. Oh, they seem to also be very concerned about the neighbors, not just upsetting the H&H, but the other neighbors too, because they have a regular meeting. And they're moving the riprap crushers so that it's quieter for the strong neighborhood. So they seem to be very, very aware of just sure the neighbors are happy. Then the one on Tall Line Road, they have not blasted in 1 year, however, they blasted right before I got there. I didn't push the button. They beautified the entrance. Very neat and orderly. They're gonna try to get rid of their recycling ponds. And what they do is they have this big machine there where they dump all their sand and silt, and then squeeze the water out so they can recycle the water. So they're gonna try and get rid of sediment ponds. Other than that, that's pretty much the highlights. And, I have nothing but good things to say about all their facilities seem to be right on top.
Questions, Mr. Brian? Thank you, Brian. Genesee aggregates, Joe?
Certainly, I went, their sites are contiguous to each other. They're used on a somewhat sporadic basis. Everything is as was the last time I did it a year ago, very neat and orderly, and they keep that site, those sites very tightly monitored and cleaned. I didn't see any problems whatsoever. They're in the process of finalizing their revised reclamation plan, which I would think that we'll see sometime in the next 3 or 4 months. As their existing reclamation plan is extremely out. And they know that. They've been working on it for over a year. That's all I have.
Any questions for Joe? Any for the start date? Review also,
Yes, same thing, in fact, they're continuously monitored by the DNR with their operation, the asphalt plant, storage piles, and everything else. And, I have not heard any comments through the village hall of any adjacent property owners having concerns with their operations, and they're running, because of the number of state jobs they've got, they're operating at night, which they receive permission from us to do. And they see that continuing into the future, increasing possibly, because that's what DOT is doing now in all its.
comments or questions? Thank you, Joe. Item 4, Pandora, Sherry.
Yeah, the San Vernon site, on 164 in Plainview. Again, it's amazingly clean and spotless. There's just, I said, next year if I do that one, I want to have to remember to schedule it on a day they're crushing. Because last year they were crushing when I was there, and we're crushing again this year, see how that affects things, but, their solar panels are all up and running, yeah, I hadn't. Didn't have a report yet to see if they're fully functioning off of that solar, or if they're still utilizing some other power. She's still looking at that yet, but, otherwise, there are no change in operations or hours. They've had no complaints from anybody that they've heard about. She said the future, way down the road, they still have a lot of extraction areas. Would be to have a lake take over where they're settling content, they're settling a launching content.
Any questions for Sherry? Thank you, Sherry. Item 5, help with, Sean.
Yes, Mike and I have been playing phone tag. I have the inspection at 9 o'clock tomorrow, and I will forward with that.
Okay. Let's do that one. What? Hold on, Rob.
Yes, Commissioner, I really worked with me to train me. I think it was just because he didn't want to get his car dirty, but, being orderly, making great changes there. Same, we saw the new water, clean the tires. They changed where their, water is, dumping off, but that was based on the DNR recommendation, but everything's neat and orderly, and, they're putting clean fill in and start to kind of back in, based on their plan, so. You know, any questions or?
Any questions? No? Thank you. On item 5, then plan reports.
So for our next meeting, we've got a rezoning request from Mr. Heinrichs for a storage facility from A5 to B3, that'll be on the docket. We've got a site plan of operation for a new business at Becker Drive industrial area. Potentially an addition for Hamilton High School for their cafeteria area, a small addition, and tentative co-location at Mary's Custom Storage for existing tenant. So that's the lineup. I just also wanted to address, there was a comment regarding A&H transmission. I looked up the minutes from January's meeting from their approval for their site plan of operation, and there was a condition stating that a member of the plan commission should verify that installation of Jersey barriers is complete and locations are adequate. And then subject to eliminating a couple of other conditions, but I believe at one point, that area, that no man's land between there, where those Jersey barriers are, and that berm that was described from the report was cleared out completely. So if stuff has been put back, it shouldn't be in. And the deal was they cleaned it out and they had, and that would not be used as part of their operation. And that was the point of the Jersey barrier. So what follow up, make sure that they're abiding by their site plan.
Brian and I'll go out, take a look and then give him a notice if it's off his site. Make sure his stuff is back on his site.
Yeah, when we went out there, we actually just drove right into H&H, nobody stopped us, the gate was open. We drove in, drove back there, and it was a pretty good sized tire, there. I would say it's probably as long as this table. And you get about 4 to 5 feet high, it's quite a good tires. And then that's right in front of the berm I described.
One more thing, that the planner did not, report, we have started the work on the conditional uses. We've got another meeting tomorrow, that the group is meeting, so we're hoping to get something, soon in your hands to review and comment on.
Excellent, thank you. All right, item 6 is adjourned. With Ryan, is there a second? Second by Joe, discussion, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? 702. Somehow.